Hello and welcome to this video on gapping a Garland XPE36 active compression unit. In this video, we'll look at how to access settings in the control panel of the grill and check the preset values. Check the gap between the platen and the grill plate using a ball gauge. Perform electronic platen gap calibration via the control panel. And finish up gap calibration using the manual system. Let's begin. In the control panel, press the Settings tile to start. Enter the generic password SERVGCR, which may change depending on the customer. Then press Return. You now have access to all the settings. Scroll down until you find platen calibration and tap the corresponding Start button next to it. Press Gap Calibration to enter. If you're using the ball gauge, the gap calibration instrument size will be 400 mils, which is already entered here. You can tap Calibration Instrument Size and use the keypad to change the size. Once done, press the green check mark to confirm the change. Tap Enter Calibration to go to the Calibration Preheat Settings screen. The grill and platen temperature should always be set at the temperature that you're going to cook your main product at. Press the green check mark to proceed once you're happy with the temperature settings. You're now in the gap calibration screen, where you can see the grill's current position. When you first go into this mode, the platen will automatically come down and stop at the home switch. Then, the current platen position and the platen set point position will change to where it thinks the grill is. Right now, this reads 407 mils, which means the machine gauges the platen is 407 mils away from the grill plate. 1 mil is 1/1000th of an inch. With reference to the distance between the grill plate and the platen, 1,000 mils would be the equivalent of 1 inch. This will help you understand what numbers to put in. Looking at the grill plate now, you can see that it's too high. So you will have to take your 400 mils ball gauge to measure the gap between the platen and the grill surface, and then try and use a different number to set it in the correct location. Let's first go over how you'd check different parts of the grill to measure the gap. To set the gap on a grill, we use 3 different points under each of the shoulder bolts. From the front, the first point is under the right shoulder bolt. To measure the gap, go in between, directly under the shoulder bolt, and about an inch in. Then, move to the left-hand side and repeat the process. The third point can be located at the rear, in the middle. Here, put the ball gauge down to level with the side of the arm, and as you go under, turn the gauge 90 degrees under the platen. You should only ever do this on the rear shoulder bolt side. Don't do this on either side of the arm, as that will get you different results. This is your third and only rear point to check. Now, let's take a closer look at how to gap the rear of the grill. The grill rear is a fixed point, and thus is the best way to adjust it using the electronic control. Currently, the platen is significantly higher than it should be, so first you need to lower the platen down by 400 mils. Looking back at the control panel, the current platen position is 407 mils. To begin, press Platen Position Set Point and type in the platen position as 1 mil. Then, press the green check mark and the platen will lower itself. Wait for it to stop moving to recheck its position. Here, the platen gap is still too high, and you need to bring it down further. You could try going down an additional 100 mils. But before you make any further movements, keep in mind that you have to go up in a large step and then come back down. You have to do this each time. So, press Platen Position Set Point again and tap 800 mils to bring the platen up. Next, go back in and tap 100 mils. Then press the minus button and then the green check mark. That will allow the platen to go down even further. You can now see that the gap is much tighter. But we need to adjust it to bring it down even further. So, as mentioned before, you must first increase the platen position by 800 mils and then reduce it by 150 mils to bring it down. You can see the platen is close to being where it needs to be, but it's still not quite there yet. Keep repeating this process to adjust the platen and bring it down to its ideal position. Each time, first raise the platen by 800 mils, then bring it down in increments. The smallest number you can move is 5/1000th of an inch. So each time after moving the platen up, you could bring it down by 160 mils, 170 mils, 165 mils, 162 mils, 157 mils, and so on. If the platen lowers too much and the gap is too tight for the ball gauge to easily slide in and out, adjust it further to raise it by a little. Once you can smoothly slide the ball gauge under the grill plate and feel the slight friction 1 inch under the platen, you can stop adjusting. There shouldn't be a big gap, and everything should be nice and snug. Return to the screen to note the current platen position. Here, it's 152 mils. Now that you're done with the electronic gapping of the rear end, it's time to gap the front of the grill using the manual system. Pick one side to start with. Here, we go to the right side of the grill with the green part of the ball gauge. As you can see, it's too tight, and the ball gauge does not fit under the platen. To raise the platen, we need to first loosen the locking nut at the top. Use the wrench tool to turn the locking nut clockwise and lower it down. Then, use the tool to turn the lower adjuster nut counterclockwise, which will raise the platen at the front. Check if the ball gauge slides under the grill. As you pull it out, it should catch onto the edge with a small amount of friction. This should be in line with the adjuster nut and just below it. Once done, you can tighten up the locking nut. For this, you need to use two tools. Place one on the adjuster nut so that it doesn't move, and place the other on the locking nut to screw it tight, counterclockwise. Ensure the locking nut is nice and tight, else it'll slip. Next, go to the other side of the grill and repeat the same process. When you slide the ball gauge in, if there's too much gap, you need to loosen the locking nut and turn the adjuster nut to lower the platen. You can keep the ball gauge underneath as you turn the adjuster nut, so that you can sense when the top of the platen grips the ball gauge with the smallest amount of friction. The grip on the ball gauge should be neither too tight nor too loose. Once done, don't forget to retighten the locking nut so that it doesn't slip. If you forget to lock these up properly, the gap will change within a week. Now that this side is done, check the other side again to see if it has become loose or moved up, which can happen. If it has, then you need to repeat the same process to make minor adjustments and tighten it up. This will ensure that you get the most consistent cook. Finally, go back to the control panel and press the Update button. This should change the current platen position to 400 mils. If it does change, tap Teach. If it does not change, you need to press Update again. Once it's changed and you press Teach, you're done. You've completed calibration on the Garland XPE36 active compression unit.